My granddaughter asked me to check her juice. What the doctor found made me collapse. She handed me the glass with both hands, the way only a 5-year-old does, carefully, like it was the most important thing in the world. "Grandpa, can you check my juice? It tastes funny." I almost did. I almost just smiled, told her it was fine, and sent her back to her cartoons. But something made me stop. Some quiet instinct I couldn't explain. I lifted the glass to the light, and what I saw changed everything for me. For my granddaughter, for the person I thought I trusted most in this world. By the time the doctor finished talking, I had to sit down. My legs simply gave out. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm 67 years old, tired, and the proudest grandfather you'll ever meet. My granddaughter, Lily, she's 5. Bright eyes, curly hair, and a laugh that can fill an entire room. She is, without question, the best thing that has ever happened to this family. After my wife passed 4 years ago, Lily became my reason to get up in the morning. I'm not ashamed to say that. When grief hollowed me out, that little girl filled the space back in her mother. My daughter-in-law, Renee, moved in with me about 18 months ago. My son Marcus works offshore, gone 3 weeks, home 1. It's a hard life, but they make it work. Hey. And since Renee needed help with Lily, and I needed the company, it made sense for them to stay with me, or so I thought. Renee is polished. That's the word I'd use. Always dressed well, always smiling, always saying the right things at the right moments. Marcus loves her completely, and because he loves her, I gave her every benefit of the doubt I had. But there were small things. Lily would come to me some mornings looking pale, tired in a way that children shouldn't be tired. She'd eat her breakfast slowly, pushing food around her plate. And then she'd curl up on the couch and sleep for hours. I mentioned it to Renee once. She waved her hand. She's just growing. Kids go through phases. Accepted that. Then it happened. Again and again. Then came that Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen, making coffee. Lily padded in, wearing her dinosaur pajamas, dragging her stuffed elephant behind her. She climbed up onto the stool at the counter and reached for her juice. The little cup Renee had already set out for her. She took one sip, made a face, looked up at me with those big brown eyes, and said, "Grandpa, can you check my juice? It tastes funny." I picked it up. Apple juice, same brand they always bought. Nothing unusual about the color pale gold, slightly pulpy, but when I brought it close and breathed in, there was something underneath the sweetness, something faintly metallic, almost chemical. My stomach turned. I set the cup down quietly and told Lily I'd get her some fresh juice from the fridge. She smiled and went back to her cartoons. I stood at the counter for a long moment, staring at that cup, and I made a decision that I believe, with everything in me, saved my granddaughter's life. I didn't pour it out. I found a small, clean jar in the cabinet. It's the kind I use for homemade jam, and I carefully transferred a portion of that juice into it, sealed it, wrote the date on the lid with a marker. I didn't know why I was doing it. I just knew I needed to. Told Renee that Lily said the juice tasted off, that I'd replaced it. She looked at me for just a moment too long. "Kids say that all the time," she said, smiling. She probably just wanted something different. Shook the original cup, rinsed it at the sink, placed it in the drying rack. Just like that, Discovery 1, the visual clue. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with the sealed jar and a flashlight. I shone the light through the glass at an angle. The way my father used to check oil quality when I was a boy. There was a faint shimmer at the bottom of the liquid, barely visible, like something had been dissolved and it partially settled. Apple juice doesn't do that. I'm not a scientist. I'm a retired civil engineer. But I spent 40 years reading materials, understanding compounds, and knowing when something doesn't behave the way it should. This didn't behave the way it should. I put the jar in a paper bag and set it aside. My hands were steady, but my heart was not. Discovery 2. The financial clue. Visual. A man sitting at a desk, reading through papers and bank statements. I want to be honest with you. I almost talked myself out of everything at this point. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was a lonely old man seeing shadows, that Renee was a good mother and I had no right to suspect her of anything. But then I remembered something. 2 months earlier, I'd added Renee to my household account just for groceries and household expenses. Marcus had asked me to, so she didn't have to call him every time something needed buying. I trusted Marcus, so I trusted her. That night, for the first time, I actually looked at the statements. There were grocery purchases, yes, utility payments, normal things, but there were also 3 purchases I didn't recognize. One from a garden supply store, $62. One from a pharmacy 2 towns over, not our usual one, $48. Cash back taken, and one from a website I had to look up on my phone. It sold bulk, herbal, and chemical supplements. No prescription required. I sat back in my chair. The room felt very quiet. I printed those statements, folded them, and placed them with the jar. Discovery 3. The behavioral clue. I started watching, not dramatically, not in a way that would be noticed. I simply started paying attention to things I've been too comfortable to notice before. Renee always prepared Lily's morning juice herself. Always, even on mornings when I was already in the kitchen. She'd say, "Oh, I've got her cup ready," and she'd bring it out from the pantry or the fridge already poured. I noticed she kept a small bottle in her purse. I'd seen it before and assumed it was vitamins or drops of some kind. Women carry all sorts of things in their bags. I never gave it a second thought, but now I watched her one morning from the hallway. She stood at the counter with her back to the door. She poured the juice. Then she reached into her cardigan pocket, not her purse, and withdrew something small, dark glass, a dropper bottle. She added 2 drops to Lee's cup. She stirred it with a spoon. She put the bottle back in her pocket. She turned around and smiled at Lily. "Here you go, sweetheart." Can I describe what I felt in that moment? Not anger, not yet. It was something colder than anger, something that started in my chest and moved outward until I couldn't feel my fingertips. I stepped back into the hallway before she saw me. I stood there, absolutely still, for almost a full minute. Then I walked to my bedroom, closed the door, called my oldest friend, a man named Gerald, who spent 30 years as a family law attorney before he retired. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Gerald," I said, "I need your help. And I need you to not ask me if I'm sure, because I am." There was a brief silence. "Talk to me," he said. I told him everything. The juice, the shimmer, the purchases, what I'd seen that morning. When I finished, Gerald didn't reassure me. He didn't tell me I was overreacting. He said, "You have the sample?" "Yes." "Don't touch it again. I know a private lab. We can have results in 48 hours. You need to take Lily to her pediatrician today, if possible. Tell them she's been having unexplained fatigue and nausea. Don't mention anything else yet. Just get her seen." "Gerald, what do you think is in it?" Another pause. "I think you already know what you're afraid of," he said, quietly. "Let's just get the facts first." I made the appointment. I told Renee I was taking Lily for a routine checkup, that I'd noticed she seemed tired and I wanted peace of mind. Renee smiled. "That's so sweet of you," she said. "I'm sure she's perfectly fine." She was not perfectly fine. The pediatrician, Dr. Anand, a quiet man with careful eyes, examined Lily thoroughly. He asked her questions. He checked her reflexes, her color, her eyes. Then he asked me to step into the hallway while the nurse stayed with Lily. He looked at me over his glasses and said, "How long has she been showing these symptoms?" "On and off for a few months," I said, "but I only just started putting it together." He nodded slowly. I want to run a blood panel. There are some markers I'd like to rule out. What kind of markers? He paused. Toxicological, among others. That word hit me like a wall. Toxicological. I gripped the chair rail in the hallway. He put his hand briefly on my shoulder. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I want to be thorough. We have results within 24 hours. Dr. Ennin called me personally. He said, I need you to come in, okay? And I need you to bring whoever else is responsible for her care. Said, can you tell me what you found? Her breath. Her blood work shows elevated levels of a compound consistent with prolonged low-dose exposure to a sedative substance. Something available in concentrated herbal form without a prescription. It's not immediately life-threatening at the levels we found, but in a child this size, over time. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I sat down on the floor of my hallway, not dramatically. My legs simply stopped working, and the floor came up to meet me. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the baseboard, for a long time. Gerald had the lab results from the juice sample the next morning. They confirmed it. A sedative compound, natural derived, legal to purchase, but dangerous in concentrated repeated doses for a small child. Someone had been putting it in my granddaughter's juice, and there was only one person who prepared that juice. Gerald advised me carefully. We did not confront Renee directly, not yet. First, we called Marcus. That was the hardest call I have ever made in my life. Marcus was offshore. It was 11 at night, his time, when I heard his voice, calm and tired, asking Dad, is everything okay? I nearly lost my composure entirely, but I didn't. I owed him the truth, and I owed it to him straight. I told him everything, the juice, the drops I'd witnessed, the doctor's findings, the lab results. The silence that followed was the longest of my life. Then he said, very quietly, is Lily safe right now? She's asleep in her room. I haven't left the house. Don't leave, he said. I'm calling my supervisor. I'll be on a flight home as fast as I can arrange it. Marcus, Dad. His voice cracked just slightly. Thank you for checking that juice. Gerald had already contacted authorities, a child protective services officer and a detective he knew personally. They moved quietly and professionally. Sirens. No drama that came to the house the following afternoon. Kay was in the living room with Lily when Renee came downstairs. She saw the detective first, then the CPS officer. Kay, then Gerald, standing by the window in his good coat. Her face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, then calculation, then a smile that didn't reach her eyes. What's going on? She asked pleasantly. The detective introduced himself and asked her to take a seat. I'd rather stand, she said. That's fine, he said. Gerald spoke first, calmly, professionally. He laid out what we had, the lab results from the juice sample, Dr. Ennin's medical report, the financial records showing the purchase from the supplement website, the record of the pharmacy visit. He placed each document on the coffee table. One by one, Renee watched him. Her expression didn't change. Those could mean anything, she said. I give Lily vitamins, okay? They're completely safe. I don't know what was in that juice cup. Maybe it was contaminated at the factory. The compound identified, the detective said, is not found in commercial apple juice. It requires deliberate addition. I want a lawyer, she said. That is absolutely your right, Gerald replied. But before anyone leaves this room, Marcus would like to speak with you. He was on video call on my tablet, propped up on the bookshelf. He'd been listening. When Renee saw his face on the screen, something shifted in her. For just a moment, the composure slipped. Marcus didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He spoke in a voice I hadn't heard from him since he was a boy, quiet and absolutely certain. Renee, I need you to tell me the truth, right now. Not for them, for me. A long silence. I just wanted her to sleep better, she said. Her voice had changed, smaller now. She never slept. You were never home. I was exhausted. I just wanted a few hours of quiet. I didn't think it would. She stopped. The room was absolutely silent. You didn't think, Marcus said, not loudly, clearly. The detective stepped forward then. The professional process took over. Renee was escorted from the home that afternoon. Lily watched cartoons in my bedroom, headphones on completely, unaware that her world had just been turned upside down and quietly, carefully protected. The legal process moved at its own pace. It always does. Renee faced charges. There were hearings, evaluations, proceedings I won't detail here, but justice moved, and it moved in Lily's direction. Marcus was home within 48 hours of my call. He didn't sleep for the first 2 days. He sat with Lily, read her stories, held her while she watched her programs, just being close to her in the way fathers do when they realize how much they almost lost. Dr. Anand monitored Lily closely for 2 months. Children are resilient, and Lily was lucky. The exposure hadn't gone on long enough to cause lasting harm. Her levels normalized. Her energy came back. That laugh, the one that fills a whole room, came back to Dot about 3 weeks after everything. Lily and I were in the backyard. She was chasing a butterfly with the absolute commitment that only 5-year-olds possess. She stopped, turned around, and ran back to me. She climbed up onto the bench beside me, pressed herself against my arm, and looked up. "Grandpa," she said, double quotes, "yes, sweetheart. Glad you checked my juice." I put my arm around her, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself breathe. Here is what I know now. Sitting here on the other side of it all, I almost didn't listen to her. I almost told that little girl her juice was fine, patted her head, and moved on with my morning. I had done it before, brushed off her comments, deferred to the adults around her, assumed that someone else had things under control. But she asked me to check, and I did. That's the thing about children. They trust completely and without strategy. When Lily handed me that glass with both hands, she wasn't testing me. She wasn't being clever. She simply believed that Grandpa could fix it, and I nearly let her down. I learned something about trust this year. Trust isn't something you give because someone is family. It isn't something you extend because it makes the household run more smoothly. Trust is something you verify, not with suspicion, but with love, with attention, with the willingness to ask the uncomfortable question when something feels wrong. For years, I told myself that noticing things meant being difficult, that asking questions meant causing trouble, that keeping the peace was more important than following the unease in my gut. I was wrong. If you are watching this and something is nagging at you, some quiet feeling that something isn't right, please listen to it, not with panic, not with accusations. Just check, ask the question, look a little closer, make the call. The people who love you will understand. The people who don't, their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. Marcus and Lily are doing well. He's taken a position that keeps him closer to home. Now, some things rearrange themselves after a crisis. Think this was one of them. Some evenings, the three of us sit on my porch as the sun goes down. Lily usually falls asleep between us, genuinely, naturally, peacefully asleep. And Marcus and I drink our coffee and don't say very much. We don't need to. Last week, Lily asked me if we could make fresh juice together. We stood at the counter, her on her stool, me beside her, and we fed oranges through the little juicer my wife bought years ago. Lily was absolutely serious about the process. She counted each orange. She watched the juice pour out. She handed me the first glass Dot with both hands, the way only a 5-year-old does. "Taste it, Grandpa. Is it okay?" I took a sip. I looked at her. "It's perfect," I said, and it was.